your day-to-day reality, which can be really valuable if you're sort of feeling anxious or you're kind of just right here with what's going on with you, unable to get a perspective of sort of this too shall pass, if you will. So dreaming and astrology for me, both are symbolic languages and both are more of a right-brained activity. There's a lot of creativity there. However, astrology is much more systematic. It looks at, I mean, everybody's got a sun, everybody's got a moon, you know, whereas somebody dreaming can be very different from individual to individual.
Is there like any connection between like the moon cycle or moon phases and dreams?
Yeah, personally what I've tracked, I definitely feel that to be true. And again, this, especially for folks who are already paying attention to their dreaming and tracking their dreaming, you know, one of the best way so you're going to see more of a correlation if you're keeping track of your dreaming and remembering it and having somewhat of a practice of it. But for me, you know, and actually there's a scientist who did a study on ESP and the moon cycle. And it turns out it peaks at the new moon and also peaks at the full moon.
Oh, interesting. I'm not familiar with that research, huh?
Yeah, Pullrich, she did it in the early 70s. And so, and I translated that. I've kept track of my dreams for a long time, and I've spoken with other folks, particularly around the new moon and the full moon cycle, and dreams tend to be longer in length. They tend to be have sort of an epic storyline. I've noticed particularly during the full moon, famous people tend to come up more and more. You know, I mean, so for somebody who's just sort of starting out, like, oh, I want to record my dreams, I'm excited about it, you know, keep a notebook by your bed and just write, first thing in the morning, wake up and write down what happens. And in particular, it's useful to just look at the storyline that goes on. You know, so
don't they have those books or something that has like the moon phases or something?
Oh yeah,
and diaries that you can
look at. Yeah,
of?
You can, and also, I mean, you just get a farmer's almanac. You could probably even find it online of just when the moon's full, when the moon's new, first quarter, last quarter. You can go through those. But typically, the new moon is a time when we're kind of letting go. It's the darkest moon of the month. It's a time when we're kind of, you know, you may dream about endings, about beginnings, about fears. Things are kind of hidden, a little uneasy. New moon is a wonderful time to set an intention, to set a goal for the month.
Oh, okay.
You know, so this is a way that one could use dreaming and the moon signs to actually map out your month.
There's something I want to get back because you mentioned lucid dreaming earlier. Of that. Now, what is that?
What is lucid dreaming? Lucid dreaming is the experience of where you're in the dream and you realize that you're dreaming. And you can do things in the dream. Like some people fly, some people put their hands through walls, some people have affairs with people they want to sleep with. I mean, there's all sorts of different things that you can do during lucid dreaming.
But a lot of times when I experience, I'm thinking I'm dreaming, I like wake up. I like, you know, oh, this is a dream.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and then I like wake up. I mean, is there like some kind of way of getting in contact where we can stay in a dream?
Where you can stay in a dream? Well, what I've heard about it, and it's not something that I have a lot of experience myself with. I mean, I think it's happened to me maybe a couple times where I've become conscious in a dream. But what you can do is just set the intention that you want to lucidly dream and see what happens. Oftentimes that will spur a lucid dream for folks as they just read about it or they know that it's possible.
So if a person can track when they're having like more vivid dreams by the moon cycles or whatever, then they can say, okay, I can pick that moon cycle day, phase day.
I would say probably a full moon. If I were to choose, I would say probably a full moon would be a time that I would, if I really wanted to do lucid dreaming, first of all, I would keep track of your dreams regardless. That will just help you build a relationship to your dreaming. That's another thing to just think about. If you think about your dreaming as a relationship, you need to put some energy and time into it. So writing it down, keeping track of it. And so during a full moon, you set the intention that you want to lucidly dream and also set somewhat of an intention behind like why you want to do it. I mean, that's an important thing to keep in mind here is that there's a certain responsibility to the dreamer when you come into contact with information in your dream. It's not, you know, sometimes it is really fun and inspirational and you're flying, you wake up and you're like, wow. And other times it's tough, you know, it's fearful or you're coming up against an issue that you've had that you just are so frustrated with and you wake up and you're you're bummed about it, So what I mean by that is that it's important to take it seriously, and that there's a certain responsibility of the dreamer to carry forward what information you get from the dream. So specifically with lucid dreaming, it's a very powerful technique, and what I've heard about it is that the tendency is for the dreams to be more exciting and fun versus dreams that you may have where you're not lucidly dreaming, which you're more afraid or things are challenging or unclear. So it's a powerful tool, I guess, and so I just,
Some of the other, because we mentioned about creativity and using dreams or something, solving some of the problems.
Right.
What about for healing? What about if someone who has some kind of condition, or know someone else who has a condition?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a famous person who actually used dreaming or trance states to heal?
Oh, Edgar Cayce, maybe?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Edgar Cayce was very adept at sort of, altering his consciousness to get healing for folks, and there's volumes on his life. But what I have found, and this is actually documented a fair amount, there's books about folks who've, for instance, diagnosed themselves with cancer through a dream. They had a dream where something was going on, and it may necessarily, they saw it on a piece of paper, go to the doctor, you have cancer, not like that, but just that something wasn't quite right.
Something was going on, something
wasn't quite right, and so they said, well, I probably should go check it out, I'm fine, and they discover cancer in very early stages that may not have even, been detected that much earlier. There's a book called Healing Dreams, which the author goes into his whole process of using his dreams to heal, and that's another, in terms of the intention part of like going to bed with an intention.
Yeah.
If you are having a physical challenge, then you can, and you do it. A couple parts of this. First of all, is the assumption that behind any physical challenge you may have, there is somewhat of a spiritual dimension behind it.
Okay.
That does not in any way dismiss or disprove the actual physical challenge.
Okay.
So if you've got an ear infection, then go take your antibiotics. That's one level of truth to that. But that there may also, or the assumption is that there's something else going on there.
Like say, for instance, psychologically speaking, that you have an ear infection because you don't want to hear what someone's saying, and instead of you directly saying, I don't want to hear that, you develop a physical manifestation is, okay, if you don't want to hear it, then I'm going to shut down the hearing so you don't hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
something like that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a dicey road, especially for folks who have really challenging health problems, because then it's like, oh, well, I deserve this, or they can feel guilty, like, well, if I could just get over this. And to be clear, it's not, it's more complicated than that. It's fairly simple. It's not that simple. But sometimes, the dream, in your dreams, you can experience an insight where, in that example, let's say you really don't want to hear something from a coworker. Right. Okay, and you said, but you don't really realize that at the time. You're just like, what's behind this ear infection for me? Right. So you set an intention, and that night you dream about this coworker yelling at you. Okay. Or something. Yeah. You might start to put two and two together. Okay. But it's important when you're working with your dreaming in this way to let go a little bit of that logical part that wants to categorize and interpret. In my opinion, this is my opinion, it's like throw out the dream dictionary. Oh, okay. we don't need that, because dreaming is a very personal experience. Same with astrology. Your chart, it's a very personal experience. And so
we're gonna take a look at my chart and see what that's really in a minute here. Okay. And but one of the questions I wanted to ask is about ancient cultures and societies now. Yeah. They did a lot, if you read any ancient texts, they're into a lot of dream interpretations and a lot of astrology. The earliest divination practice we can look at has to do with those two more than any other type of practice that they have that's still being currently used today.